Hello and welcome to our review of Firefly. This episode was Objects in Space. I'm Paul.
I'm Dave.
This episode originally aired December 13th, 2002, attracting approximately 4.08 million viewers, which is quite sad, because this was the series finale.
Mm,
Alrighty, Dave, any guess on what the number one song in America was this week?
That in December.
We're less than 2 weeks from Christmas in 2002.
Mm, Nothing's coming to mind from my memory of that time. Um,
I'll give you a heads up now, it's not a Christmas song in any way.
no, with that. It was a thought, but I was thinking, nah, around that time it still would have been the pop or whatever super popular song was at the time, but yeah, nothing's exactly jumping to my mind of what would have been on the top of the list for that.
It's a song we've spoken about previously. It is Lose Yourself by Eminem.
Still with that one.
Yeah, it was the
Just stick
top
to
for
it.
like 10 weeks or something. It was up there for quite a while.
Hmm.
Alrighty, so number one movie in America this week. Any guesses? I would be a little shocked if you get this one.
Again, around that time, nothing that jumps out to mind. Again, with December, with what they'd have as the top movie of the time.
It's not a
Mm,
movie that would strike you as like a Christmas film. It is Made in Manhattan.
The name rings a bell, and think I know of it, but I'm drawing a complete blank.
Yeah, it's a Jennifer Lopez, Ray Fiennes romantic comedy.
Not surprised. Most likely at the time it was probably a huge thing, but yeah.
It did do quite well. It had a budget of 65 million and brought in 163.8 at the box office. So it did all right.
It had Jennifer Lopez.
I mean, yeah, but
Mm,
I don't think it reviewed terribly well.
mm.
Received mixed. Oh yeah, 39% on Rotten Tomatoes. Average score of 5.12 out of 10. Yeah, so it was not a favorite of most people, I would say.
Yeah.
And finally, WWF champion at the time. Now I am technically cheating a little here because his title change didn't take place for 2 days, but screw it, I wanted to.
Just with who decided to get it, or who's off the list now for who had it previously.
I just think it's an interesting. Well, it's. I think it's more of. It's a match I want you to kind of have to mentally picture, and that's fun for me.
Oh boy. And as for the person there, nothing's immediately coming to mind for who would have it at the time.
So, Kurt Angle would win the title on December 15th, 2002, at the pay per view. Do you have any idea who he won it from? Because this is the part that makes me laugh. Because I
Ah,
have to go back and see this match because I don't remember it.
I see. Know the names, but don't exactly remember the story of it.
He won the belt from Big Show.
Ah, I see.
I have
Oh
to see
yes,
that.
from a couple weeks back, I remember you saying that Big Show had the title for a time at least.
Yeah, he had it for like exactly 4 weeks. But
Hmm.
I kind of want to see that because I want to see how that works.
Hmm.
Because like I know they've had matches together, but it's always I always find it really interesting when like an average like okay, I mean maybe Kurt's not the most average sized guy, but a relatively average sized guy works with somebody as big as Big Show. I always
Hmm.
enjoy that visual.
Hmm.
Anyway, this episode. Okay, River telepathically hears the crew member's innermost feelings when she picks up a gun in Serenity's cargo bay, which she perceives as a tree branch. The others discuss if she is too dangerous to be kept aboard. A bounty hunter named Jubal Early sneaks aboard the ship intent on claiming the bounty set for River and Simon. He incapacitates the crew and forces Simon to help him locate River, who has seemingly vanished. While searching the ship, Early recites some existential philosophy, claiming not to be evil, simply incentivized to do what is necessary. River's voice appears on the PA system, claiming that River melted and fused with serenity. Early is disbelieving, but the voice is omniscient, knowing extensive details of Early's delinquent behavior. The voice muses that Early enjoys violence and is not merely incentivized to be violent. Secretly, the voice individually mobilizes the crew in a plot to force Early off the ship. Early realizes River has snuck aboard his own spacecraft. River tells him that she will go willingly, heading back to his craft to join her. Early is ambushed by Mal, who pushes him away into space, carrying out River's plan. River is embraced by the crew, and Early floats alone in space.
Well, here I am.
Here I am indeed, sir. Here I am indeed. So, what'd you think of this episode?
On the whole, with just the entire premise of the episode, with both sides of it kind of playing out as it was so interesting to kind of see, with the bit of psychological diving from River's perception, the assassin that was on, searching for her, as well as sort of interesting to see the reaction of how River sees things, can sense other people's thoughts, and go through things from there, sort of walking a little bit within her shoes. As it was for a season finale and whatnot, on the one hand, I suppose it works, but I'm pretty sure it definitely wasn't intended as such. And it makes it a little bit sad that this is what note that Firefly had to end off of with its television run.
Yeah, it's. I think this was intended to be like the season finale, but not obviously the series finale. It is quite unfortunate that this was the last episode, because it's quite good and it kind of leaves a lot open. Like there's obviously a lot of story still to tell. That we'll sort of get it wrapped up next week in the movie, but well, we'll talk about that when we get to it. But yeah, it's a fun episode, but it is disappointing, like you said, like, oh, this is the last one. Yeah.
Like, it dives into some interesting concepts that were brought up, mostly with the assassin, with his kind of way of thinking, and specific things that were kind of shown off within the episode. Of one particular one that struck me was when he spoke with the doctor, saying that, why is it that doctors never get injured or have to do surgical work on themselves, feel the pain that their patients have to go through? And then with the events of the episode, he needs to coach one of the crew members through it to get a bullet out of his leg.
Yeah, he has to get Zoe to operate on his leg, and it's quite funny. He's like, I'm gonna faint now, but you're doing good. It's very good. Yeah, it's a good episode, but well, we'll get to the movie in a little bit, because they kind of sort of reuse a similar character in the movie. It's not the same character, but it's a very similar kind of idea.
Similar with a couple particular caveats, maybe. Again, we'll get to it when we get to it.
It's not identical, but there's definitely similarities between them. Okay, so did you have anything else about this episode?
No, I think on whole, it was definitely interesting at the very least just to go through the series, see what some of the hype and whatnot was about. With the one aspect of, I figured that there probably would have been a lot more moments of, oh, I understand this reference now, when really it was just mainly that one near one of the very first episodes.
Which one?
With Wash playing with the dinosaurs. It's like, haha, you fell for my flat. Ah!
You
play with
my
little
inevitable
dinosaurs.
Betrayal, or whatever it is.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good line. Yeah.
But then also just the case of this episode, or this series, for what they did with it, who worked on it, and just all the work that was done with it, turned out fairly good. I can also understand that probably with the execs or other sort of people seeing it would probably kind of be like for not putting it on, but still, it makes me just kind of wish that this got either the attention that it really needed, or at least something more to kind of really push it to put it more into the more cult status that I think it kind of deserved, but has to an extent.
Yeah, I think this is one of those shows where if it came along a few years later, it would have done a lot better,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because TV in 2002 was very different than it was in like 2008.
Yeah, yeah.
And you also have to remember at the time, Joss Whedon was doing Firefly, Buffy, and Angel all at the same time. Like that's a hell of a
Question
year.
is, that's stretching himself thin or not?
That's season 7 of Buffy, season 4 of Angel, and this. And I mean,
Okay.
those are some pretty banging good seasons.
Hmm.
I think it was more that he was primarily focused on Firefly and just kind of outlined the other two, but still.
I see. Hmm.
Anyway, if there's nothing else, next week we will be discussing the feature film Serenity. It's going to take place about 6 months after the TV series, and we're gonna learn some things about the Alliance, and we're gonna learn where the Reavers come from.
Some fancy things that the show can manage to get to.
Yes, and well, we'll talk about it then. So until next time,
Yeah.
I'm Paul.
And I'm Dave.